Good morning, everybody. Well, unless you've been living under a rock for the last 30 hours or so, the United States started military operations against Iran, who has retaliated with operations against military bases, which have killed, they're saying, at least 3 service members. They have also hit the U.S. Embassy, or shot at the U.S. Embassy in Kuwait. And they said strikes across the Middle East are going to intensify. Iran has shot missiles into Qatar, Saudi Arabia, which has now agreed to join the fight because Iran attacked them. The House members are holding press conferences, calls on Iran and push for war powers vote. And when I saw this yesterday, it looked like they were kind of split half and half. There's so many different headlines, and there's so much fog of war, and there's so much this opinion, that opinion. It's hard to decipher all the nonsense that's going on. Their Ayatollah has been killed. And then now we have terrorist attacks in the United States. One happened yesterday where 3 people were killed and 9 more injured. Both the Federal Bureau of Investigation and Department of Homeland Security have circulated internal alerts to government agencies and state, local law enforcement saying they have evidence that Iran has fully activated sleeper cells in the United States. These cells are allegedly operates with military experience familiar with explosives and methods of attack. They are allegedly intent on carrying out the terrorist attacks. It is believed that the cells have been instructed to carry out attacks inside the United States beginning immediately today and from here on out. No specific targets are known, but it's believed that targets include famous hotels, airports, infrastructure like the electrical grid, power supply, treatment facilities, gas and oil pipelines, which there will be heightened security on all that stuff. Key bridges, places where civilians gather in large numbers like churches, shopping centers, sporting events, concerts. But they are going to, this may be viewed, please stay vigilant. Thank you. The Ayatollah was killed is what sparked a lot of this extracurricular activity, along with a lot of the head cabinet members. There were 54 people arrested as chaos erupted, blocking the roads. Immigrants were hurling rocks and stuff this was in Virginia, at ICE. And the thing that we forget about is the Ukraine-Russian war is still raging with no end in sight. I saw an op-ed piece yesterday that said jihad is coming. What Khamenei's death means for the region and the world. A jihad is a holy war. Where was it? This came from RT, and the gentleman who wrote this is Fahad Bergavo. I'm butchering that man's name. Farhad is his first name. Um, he is of the opinion that the regime will not collapse. He said there's no collapse coming. Um, Iran has had many, many years to build this system to where it's not going to collapse overnight. There have been protests in the streets. President Trump is calling for them to take their country back. And rise up. They are now shooting at ships in the Strait of Hormuz. I know one was damaged yesterday. Seems like there was one more that was shot at and damaged, but I don't remember that one right off the top of my head. U.S. mass shooting possibly motivated by Iran strikes. That was the one yesterday that killed 3 in Texas. I was trying to see where it was. It was in Austin, Texas, which is a very liberal area of Texas. You wouldn't think Texas would be liberal, but it is. It was at an Austin bar. So he just walked in and started shooting. And that's kind of the thing. They were talking about the terrorist attacks are, they activated sleeper cells, and they very well could have. But it's the lone nut gunman like this guy right here that you're just going somewhere like that, shopping mall, whatever it may be, and he decides to open fire because he doesn't agree with what's going on over here. Unfortunately, this is the world we've been put in the last year and a half. And I was talking to my wife yesterday, Jesus said these things were coming. He said there'll be rumors of wars. There'll be wars and rumors of wars. Do not fear, because all these things must come to pass. It does not mean you can't be vigilant. It does not mean you can't keep your head on a swivel. It does not mean that you shouldn't be. Don't stop living your life. We don't have bombs dropping on our cities yet. Hopefully they won't. If we were in Iran, it'd be a completely different story how we lived our lives. People tend to do weird things when these things happen. It might be the person that you don't even know about. I mean, that guy may have been friends with some of those people in that bar. I have no idea. But we have seen an uptick in this stuff in the last year and a half. And if you go back and look at the mass shootings we've had in the last year, I can probably think of 10 off the top of my head that have killed quite a few people at one time. Sometimes they don't have anything to do with politics. Sometimes they are just a domestic issue, like the one in North Carolina was a domestic issue that the guy shot the people in the bar. You've got Middle East travel chaos leaves hundreds and thousands stranded. Afghan loses nearly 1,000 in the last escalation in Pakistan. And so you have a lot of, and what the fear has been with this is it's going to spark a wider regional war, because you have all these countries that are just sitting on a razor's edge anyway. And something like this just gives them the fuel to go ahead. Pakistan and India hate each other. Both of them are nuclear powers. I mean, are they going to split down the middle and say, okay, well, you got your side, I got my side, let's roll? India is one of those that they're kind of back and forth. Sometimes they're with the United States, sometimes they're with Russia and China. And I still stand by my statement from last week. This is more about hurting China than it is hurting Iran. I don't know what the exact conversation was in the talks leading up to this, because they have been talks between Iran and the United States. And President Trump's call has always been they will not have a nuclear weapon. Okay? They have 60% enriched uranium. 90% is considered a full nuclear weapon. 60% they can still detonate it. But the yield will not be nearly as big. I think the big one that got Iran was the United States also asked for all their nuclear power plants to be shut down and never reopened, to completely do away with all manufacturing of any missiles, to give up all their missiles. And Iran said, well, if you want all that, we want all the sanctions lifted so we can start, selling oil and all that again. The United States, absolutely not. We're not going to do that. So I don't think the negotiations were done in earnest, because you're asking a country to give up every part of the defense that they absolutely have, completely turn over their leadership, but you're not going to lift the economic sanctions off of them, so they're still going to have to be marred in poverty. Is not the right word, because they're certainly not a poor country, but they still can't operate on a global scale with other countries. And you want them to completely be defenseless, because part of that was giving up some of their naval ships, which we apparently hit 4 of last night. So basically, you wanted them to say, okay, you can come in and do whatever you want, completely dismantle our government, to completely dismantle our military, completely dismantle all this, plus our economy you've dismantled over the last 30 years, and we're supposed to just stand here and take it. I'm not defending Iran in any way, shape, or form. Don't get me wrong. But no country in their right mind would have made that deal. Concessions here, there, nuclear program, maybe, but the whole world runs on nuclear power. So what are they supposed to do with their power? Are they just supposed to go back to the Crusades and the year 1200 again? I mean, I'm just asking a question. I don't know. But the bigger thing of this is this has sparked a larger conflict in the Middle East. So here's the other part of it. Do we need this conflict to bring on the man of sin? I personally believe the Antichrist is walking around on the earth. That's just me personally. It's my personal belief. I don't share it very much, but I do. So, is President Trump playing his part that God wants him to play? Sparks this, and it gives the man of sin time to come on with a peace deal, to confirm a peace deal. He does not make the peace deal. He confirms the peace deal. Don't get that twisted. For 7 days. The war they wanted, Netanyahu and Trump light the fuse in Iran. Part of Netanyahu's deal is because if these wars end, if he ends the Gazan war, if he ends the Iranian war and all that, he's going to jail. He's already been up for conviction for trials or corruption, not conviction, corruption charges. Is all this part of his plan? Yes, it is. Every bit of it's part of his plan. Which was the whole point of me saying all that for the last 15 minutes. It's all part of his plan. We had another earthquake here in South Carolina yesterday. And you remember the other thing is earthquakes in diverse places. All these are the birth pains. All these things must come to pass. We don't like it. None of us want it, but it is what it is. So where does your salvation lie? Your salvation lies with Jesus. Our devotional today says he has already made provisions. When God calls us to any specific work, he has already made provisions for everything we need to accomplish. God is able to make all the grace abound toward you, that you, always having all sufficiency in all things, having abundance of every good work. That comes from 2 Corinthians 9 and 8. The verse is not just hope, it is promise. It begins with the works God is able. God is not interested in just meeting your need. He always wants to give you more than you need. That is what the word abound means. An ever-increasing, superabundant supply. Now to him who is able to do exceedingly abundantly above all that we ask or think, according to the power that works in us. Now that comes from Ephesians 3 and 20. Think of what is being promised here. When you are down and tired, think you cannot go any further, God is able to so invigorate you that you think you have all you need at all times in every possible situation. It is as if the Lord is saying, listen, all you shepherds, listen. All you faithful, attend my house and labor in prayer and praise and intercession. I want to give you an abundance of strength, hope, joy, peace, rest, encouragement, and wisdom. In fact, I want you to have an over and abundance of all you need at all times. God never intended us to be spiritual paupers, poor in things of the Lord. On the contrary, the bountiful servant is the one who enjoys a revelation of all the great provisions God has prepared for you, for him. He goes after the revelation of faith, but as is written, eye has not seen, nor ear heard, nor have entered into the heart of man that things which God has prepared for those who love him. 1 Corinthians 2 and 9. Ask the Lord to open your mind and spirit to resources he has promised. If you ask, he will freely give. If you ask, he will freely give. Keep your head on a swivel wherever you go. Going to the grocery store, going to work. Just be vigilant. Just be vigilant. If you can prep some stuff, go prep it. I went and bought some gas yesterday just to be on the safe side. If gas doesn't skyrocket, then oh well. If it does, you're that much better off. Don't go into debt to do it. Go put some food away. We've been talking about that for a long time. Always prep food. Prep food and water. If you are going to store gasoline, make sure you store non-ethanol gas. Do not store ethanol gas and put stay built in it. If you store non-ethanol gas, I've used it up to almost 18 months after I've stored it, and it worked perfectly fine. But it has to be the non-ethanol. It has to be pure gasoline. And sometimes it can be hard to find. Is it going to cost you more? Yes, it is. But at least you'll have it. And nothing else, put it in your lawnmower, because that's what I use it for. I get a tank down, I go buy some. If you've got extra propane tanks for your gas grill, something like that, go fill them up. I've got 2 sitting there now I need to fill up. We've already seen that in the last year, things have went crazy. A little bit here, a little bit there, it adds up after a while. Go get what you can get and store it away and move on down the road. Don't give it a second thought. We talk about it all the time. Pray, prepping, and training. Training could be as much as you getting out and walk and getting your physical condition up to par. It could be lifting weights, it could be running, it could be doing whatever you need to do to help yourself. Store food. It always comes down to food. You should have a month's worth of food in your house at all times. Not 3 days like somebody tells you, like the government tells you. You should have a month's worth of it. You should be able to I'm not talking about milk and bread. Make your own bread. But the staples of food and water, you should have a bunch supply in your house. Or at least the ability to get it. Like water. Water's hard to store because it's big and it's bulky. But at least have the ability. All right, I'm gonna hop off of here. Y'all have a great day. May God guide your steps. Go prep something today. Take $10, go buy some rice, beans, whatever it is. Doesn't matter what it is. Some long storage foods. You'd be surprised how long you can store food. Talk to you later.